He lost everything, but never gave up. In the bustling heart of New York City, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds like ambitious dreams, lived a man named Elias Grant. At 42, Elias was the epitome of success. A sharp-suited investment banker with a corner office overlooking Central Park, a loving wife named Clara, 2 bright-eyed children, and a brownstone townhouse that whispered of quiet luxuries. His days were a whirlwind of boardroom battles and lavish dinners, his nights filled with the soft laughter of his family. "I've got it all," he'd often say to his reflection in the elevator mirror, a confident grin lighting his face. Life, it seemed, had handed him a winning hand, but fate, that capricious storyteller, had other chapters in mind. It began subtly, like a crack in a dam too small to notice. Elias's firm, one of the giants in Wall Street's arena, hit a snag during the market crash of 2023. Whispers of layoffs turned into thunderous announcements. Elias, who had poured his soul into risky ventures that soured overnight, was called into the CEO's office one rainy Tuesday afternoon. "It's not personal, Elias," the man said, his voice as cold as the glass walls around them. "The numbers don't lie." By evening, Elias was packing his desk into a cardboard box, his tie loosened like a noose finally cut free. Unemployment hit him like a freight train. His savings, once a fortress, began to erode under the weight of mortgages and school fees. Clara, his anchor for 15 years, tried to hold the family together, but the strain showed in the lines around her eyes, the way her smiles faltered over dinner. "We'll get through this," she'd say, squeezing his hand. Elias nodded, but inside, doubt gnawed at him. He sent out resumes like lifelines into a stormy sea, dozens, then hundreds. Interviews came sporadically, polite nods followed by silence. Overqualified, they said, or worse, nothing at all. Months blurred into a haze of rejection emails and late-night job scrolls on his laptop, the glow casting shadows on his unshaven face. Then came the second blow, sharper than the first. Elias, ever the optimist, decided to pivot. He poured what remained of his savings into a small consulting startup, leveraging his expertise to advise fledgling tech companies. For a fleeting moment, it sparked hope. Clients trickled in, a modest office space rented in Brooklyn. But the economy, still reeling, turned vicious. One by one, his clients folded like paper cranes in a gale. The final nail came when his biggest investor pulled out, citing unforeseen risks. Elias's business account hit zero. He came home that day to find Clara's note on the kitchen counter. "I love you, but I can't watch us drown. The kids deserve stability. I'm staying with my sister for a while. Please understand." Her words blurred through his tears, the house suddenly echoing with emptiness. The children, little Mia, 8, with her pigtails and endless questions, and Theo, 10, who idolized his father's old stories of closing million-dollar deals, didn't understand at first. "When's Mommy coming back, Daddy?" Mia asked one night, her small hand in his. Elias forced a smile, but his heart shattered. He sold the townhouse to cover debts, moving them into a cramped one-bedroom apartment in Queens. The walls were thin, the neighbors loud, and the fridge often bare. Elias took whatever work he could, driving for a rideshare app at dawn, bartending on weekends, even tutoring math to high schoolers for pennies. His once toned frame withered, stress carved deep furrows into his forehead. Sleepless nights became his companion, haunted by what-ifs and the ghost of who he used to be. Rock bottom arrived on a frigid winter evening in 2024. Elias had just finished a grueling shift, his car sputtering to a halt on a deserted street. Rain pelted the windshield like accusations. He sat there, soaked and shivering, staring at the eviction notice crumpled in the glove compartment. The landlord had been patient, but 3 months behind was 3 months too many. Mia and Theo were with Clara now, full-time. She'd filed for separation, the papers a cold formality. Elias had nothing left, no job, no home, no family under one roof. He wandered into a dingy diner, ordered black coffee he couldn't afford, and let the dam break. Sobs racked his body as the waitress, an older woman named Rosa, slid a slice of pie his way without a word. "Everyone falls, mijo," she said softly, her eyes kind. "It's what you do next that writes the story." In that moment, amid the steam of the coffee and the ache in his chest, something shifted. Elias thought of his grandfather, a coal miner from Appalachia who had lost his legs in an accident but rebuilt his life teaching others to read by lamplight. "Pain's just the forge," the old man used to say. "It tempers you if you let it." Elias wiped his face, paid with his last crumpled bill, and stepped into the night. He didn't have a plan, but he had a spark, a stubborn refusal to let the darkness win. The rebuild began small, almost invisibly. Elias crashed on a friend's couch, swallowing his pride with every "thank you." He enrolled in free online courses, dusting off skills he'd forgotten in the rush of success. Coding, he discovered, ignited something dormant, a puzzle to solve, line by line. By day, he hustled odd jobs. By night, he coded prototypes for apps that could help small businesses track finances affordably. Rejection still came. Pitches to investors fell flat. Beta testers ghosted him, but Elias persisted. He journaled his failures, turning them into fuel. Lost the deal today. Learned their pain point, scalability. Next pitch, address it head on. 6 months in, a breakthrough. A local nonprofit helping immigrant entrepreneurs saw his demo at a community meetup. They didn't have much money, but they had need. Elias built their app for a fraction of what it was worth, and in return, they connected him to a network of mentors. Word spread. A tech incubator offered him a desk in their co-working space. No salary, but endless coffee and collaboration. Elias coded through fevers and fatigue, his fingers flying over the keyboard like a lifeline. He called Mia and Theo every night, reading bedtime stories over the phone, promising, "Daddy's building something big for us." Clara noticed the change first. During a supervised visit at the park, she watched Elias chase the kids with a genuine laugh, his eyes brighter than they'd been in years. "You've always been a fighter," she admitted later, over coffee that wasn't awkward for the first time in months. "I just forgot to remind you." Reconciliation wasn't instant. Trust had to be rebuilt brick by brick, but it started there, in the quiet spaces between words. By spring 2025, Elias's app, now called ForgeFlow, launched. It wasn't flashy, but it was solid. Intuitive tools for bootstrapped dreamers, priced accessibly. The first real revenue came from a bakery owner in the Bronx, a single mom who'd been on the brink of closing shop. "You saved me," she emailed, attaching a photo of her grand reopening. Elias framed it on his new desk, not in a skyscraper, but in a modest office he shared with 2 other startups. Investors finally bit, not for the glamour, but for the grit behind it. Funding rolled in, modest at first, then steady. He hired his first employee, Rosa from the diner, who turned out to have a knack for user testing. A year after hitting bottom, Elias stood in a TEDx auditorium, the spotlight warm on his face. Mia and Theo flanked him in the front row, Clara beside them, her hand in his during the applause. "I lost everything," he began, his voice steady. "My job, my home, my family as I knew it. I thought that was the end. But loss isn't the finale. It's the intermission. It strips you bare, yes, but in that bareness, you find your true shape, the one that's unbreakable, because it's forged in fire." Elias's story rippled outward. ForgeFlow grew into a platform empowering thousands, but more than that, it became a testament. He mentored at-risk youth, sharing his journals like sacred texts. Fall 7 times, rise 8. He and Clara remarried in a simple backyard ceremony, the kids scattering petals like confetti of second chances. Success returned, but this time, it was rooted deep. Not in glass towers, but in the soil of perseverance. And so, Elias Grant, once a man who had everything and lost it all, became a beacon. For in the grand tapestry of life, it's not the peaks that define us, but the valleys we climb from. Never give up, he whispers to the world, because the story isn't over until you say it is. Yours is still being written, one resilient step at a time.